yes. And inappropriate touching.
Alright, we're gonna close the studio doors.
15 minutes.
Oh, I'll close it when I leave.
Oh yeah, we gotta get rid of each other. Okay.
You know where these things? Yeah. These things, yes.
Alright, there's our big song.
Yes, for sure. See you. Enjoy,
Yeah. How we doing there, cameraman? Dylan?
Good. It seems like it's being a little funny though. It seems like it's tilting down.
Okay, let's take a look here.
I saw that
So-
film we did with Mike Morrison.
There we go.
Sweet.
Yeah, you must have hit a button.
Okay.
Well, do you remember what I said?
Sixth season, we're back, everybody. And how's Darren?
Woo! Firepower. What would Rob Hirsch say? Firepower.
So Darren, we're gonna do recovery journey, then we're gonna do cancer, and then we're gonna talk about okay, microphone's going on. Oh, one day this will all be over. Our guest is already misbehaving in the studio. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talk Recovery Radio. We're back on the air from Vancouver's downtown east side, Vancouver Co-op Radio 100.5 FM. We've been on a 2-month break, and yeah, we were busy. We're starting our 6th season today.
6 seasons.
Right on there, and 6 seasons.
I missed us.
Yes, I missed us too, you know. And for 4 of those seasons, we had our co-host Frances Stone join us. We always think about her. Darren and I have been taking over for a little while here, a couple of seasons, and now we're in our 6th season of coming to the downtown east side to have a little bit of recovery to Vancouver's downtown east side. That's all I'm gonna say there. Things haven't gotten much better since we took a break, but we were gone because for those of you that follow us on social media, we had Recovery Month Canada, the whole month of September. So I was away for a month, going to various cities across the country, so that was really exciting. You can go to recoverycanada.com, no, recoverymonthcanada.com for more information on what 2020 is going to look like. And yeah, and then I took some time off, Darren. How about you?
Well, it's hard to say I took some time off.
Yes.
No, I took the family to Mexico. Since we had some time, I figured
Let's do it.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, went and visited the late Blair May's tile
Nice.
that I put up there. I got the news actually on whenever 7, 8 years ago, and I was alone. Well, not alone. I was with my girlfriend at the time in Puerto Vallarta, and then I got a phone call that my colleague and mentor and fellow member of MMA had passed, and he passed clean just due to health related issues. And I was sitting there in Mexico, and I was feeling alone. Like all my colleagues were sort of grieving together, and I just knew I had to go to a meeting. I went to a meeting, and there's all of these tiles up on the walls inside this Alano Club in this meeting, and it was just like, it was sort of a blessing in disguise that out of nowhere I was able to put this tile up and sort of do my thing. And yeah, so this last trip actually I met someone down there, and we met up at the meeting. It was great.
That was good. And Blair May was one of our colleagues over at Last Star Recovery Society, one of the when New West Recovery puts on Talk Recovery Radio, which is made up of Last Door and Westminster House, so shout out to Westy House and Last Door. You know, it's been an interesting couple of months here. We had the election happen, and you know what, I was in Ontario at my mom's house because I needed a bit of a break. And I was thinking, thank God we're not doing the radio show right now, because I'd probably get in a lot of trouble talking about what's on my mind with this election. Unfortunately, the addiction crisis, not the overdose crisis, but the addiction crisis wasn't even on anybody's platform, so it was really sad. I mean, all three parties got a big F when it comes to addiction recovery services. I mean, it was just, it was a shame. It was a shame that nobody really talked about it, you know, and you know, I know we need to talk about climate and all that kind of stuff because we need a place to live, but what really bothered me was, you know, I'll be honest on air, like I read the Conservative Party's recovery initiatives, and I was actually really proud of them. I think it was the only party that really took a look at recovery. But I don't know, it's like I kind of put a couple of sound bites on social media, and people were like, "How dare you?" And I was just like, "These are my friends," and so I kind of just muted. I was like, you know what, they're not, all three parties are doing an amazing job. The Conservatives had a bit more of a recovery conversation than a platform, not just safe supply and decrim and whatever else. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens with the new Minister of Health that comes on board and see what he or she does, if there is going to be a new one there.
Yeah, I know, it's sort of an ethical dilemma when you're making a vote for one specific platform against other things. That
Well, we're torn. I mean,
agree
Judy Darcy, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions here in BC, I mean, she's the first Minister of Mental Health and Addictions to support recovery in British Columbia. But now everybody is kind of talking about supporting recovery, but, you know,
But
it's
we
not.
had a recovery day
Yeah.
in New West.
The city of New Westminster Police have 30,000 people.
Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I mean, when you know,
Let's
when you
just
think
do it.
about what
Who
we're
needs
doing
them?
going rogue
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah.
you know, keep going, you know, the way we want to go, like, look at that. That's amazing.
It's hard trying to be friends with all of them and trying to get to what we want to get done. So Talk Recovery comes live every Thursday downtown. We're at Columbia and Hastings. We're on the air noon to 1. You can catch us on SoundCloud, Facebook Live, YouTube videos, and obviously 100.5 FM here in Vancouver. And we try to bring you shows, you know, that talk about all the many pathways to recovery. We talk about all the different approaches that people use, but we also do personal stories at the end of the show because we want to make sure that we hear the voices of recovery and have people say, "Hey, I'm an addict, and this is what I did," and not have any worries about using their own personal language. So this is a safe space for everybody, and I hope you enjoy our show. We're kicking off season 6 today with a great show. I'm super excited to have my boss, so I really behave here. You know, there's a bit of a shift at Last Star Recovery Society, and David will get more into that story as well. There's a new executive director, and David will all be sharing on that in a bit. But David is celebrating 36 years clean today. Everybody, congratulations. I hope you're cheering out there too. So David, like, no booze, no drugs, no smokes, 36 years, like, what's wrong with you?
I think it's more than just no booze, no drugs. It's not living in addiction. That was the thing. And like, I could stop using for different periods of time for different reasons. And again, I'm faced with all the reasons that I'm drinking and using the way I do. And so it was understanding what addiction was, you know, was the biggest part. So stopping using, like, I'm not going to get through to the changes I need to make in my life. And I got with some people that were serious about recovery, and you know, that was the thing that got my attention. And you know, people were enjoying it. They weren't just not using, but they were enjoying life, right? And we had, you know, that early recovery, we had a lot of laughers, and you know, did a lot of meetings, and you know, sort of found out that I had gone insane while I was using, you know. And you know, I guess part of that story is what I was doing before I got clean, but I think the more important part of the story is what I did after I stopped using, you know.
So I want the listeners and the viewers to, so 1983, you were here in the downtown east side. This was your hood. And what was that like in 1983, being in Vancouver's downtown east side, using substances, drugs?
Well, I liked it.
You liked it?
Yeah. Well, there's that part, but when I got clean, I lived in the downtown east side. I lived on Keefer and Hastings, and I had a home group at the Carnegie Center, I had people that I sort of followed around and got involved in recovery, and, you know, it started making sense. I felt comfortable down here, I liked it, you know.
What was it like? I mean, we just drove down here, parked the car outside, and you followed the news and so forth. What do you think's a bit different than when you were here in 1983 to compared to now?
Well, this was still a tough part of town, but it wasn't out in the open. It was in the buildings, in the bars, and it was out of sight, you know, and, it was a nice part of town still. And, well, nothing like that, you know, and, there was lots of addicts, and there was recovery going on, so there's a little bit of everything. There was a community, and, people cared about each other, and, you know, it felt good to be here.
Some of the people watching and hearing, you know, they know who you are and they're tuning in because you're on air. There's some people that have no clue who Dave P is. So, what did you do? What makes you different coming out of this in 1983 than some other people?
Okay, so there's a lot of ideas that you hit a bottom and you make a change, and I'm not one of those guys that have that idea. I don't think there's anything bad in it to actually stop me. But I think each time we get to one of those crossroads, it's a choice. And multiple times I didn't make that choice. It always got worse. You know, I was doing things I said I'd never do. I would always tell myself I could stop. If it got bad, I'd stop, and I couldn't stop anymore. And then as it progresses, it gets to the point where, you know, I guess if I describe the end was, I just didn't care anymore. You know, I didn't care if I lived or died or anything in between. You know, and that's what I mean. I didn't realize, because you literally go crazy so slowly that you just get used to it. You know, I was used to it, and then I was walking down Hastings on the far end there, and I bumped into Louise, and she was like looking good and had a tan, and you know, she was in treatment, and she was on the bus going somewhere, and she remembered me, and I'm like, hey, and she's like, oh, you look like shit. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like, I was, you know, just getting high, getting drunk, stealing cars, feeling like shit every day. I used to be somebody, used to have a life, I had a wife and kids, and I had a job, and I had the things that make life okay. I had a truck, and I had a bike, and I had money, and I had friends, and you know, and just one thing at a time. I made those sacrifices, and I lost that job, and I lost that family, and I lost. I mean, the dope dealer drove by in my car one day, in my car anymore, and you know, my wife walked down the street. She's with another guy, and you know, to deal with that, I just moved, and I came here. You know, to get as far away from all that as I can, and you know, like I say, I bumped into her, and I tried to be clean before a few times, and I never really gave it much of an effort, you know, like, kinda. I always wanted to keep smoking pot or drink a little, or I could say it's, you know, the coke's the problem, or, you know, always had some spin, some rationalization where I could bitch, blame, complain, don't take responsibility, you know, I am the way I am because of, and I could fill in that blank with a lot of things, and never once took responsibility, you know, and there were people that would help me not take responsibility, that would enable me, and, you know, I bumped into somebody that was clean, and she's like, yeah, I'm feeling good, and life is good, and, you know, want to go to a meeting, and I'm like, I didn't want to go to a meeting, but I wanted her. So I went to the meeting, and it was, you know, like people really cared about each other, and you know, it was that first part of recovery that really affected me. It made sense. I saw how these people were as a group, and their energy, and they, for the most part, weren't struggling to stay clean, and they were seemed pretty happy about life, and she's like, yeah, you know, maybe when we go to the next one, if you're not high, you might get more out of it. And I'm like, well, I never thought about that. You know, I just figure I'd do a little, take the edge off. You know, I take the edge off so good, I don't even have a life anymore. So it's just like, okay, and you know, she took me to another one, and I got a day clean. You know.
So you mentioned, you know, noticing what's going on in the meetings, and I mean, for a lot of people that, like for me anyways, I resisted it.
Yeah.
You know, I was afraid of it. you know, somewhere in there, you know that there's something special going on. Like, how long did you resist? Because you talked a lot about, you know, you get clean and you stay clean just a day at a time, you know, going through the motions and whatnot. And you also, I know part of your story was, I think it was 12 years that you said, you know, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. You were starting to retract a bit from recovery. Like, had you resisted up to that point? Was that 12 years of resistance? Like, how does that happen?
No, it wasn't. No, that was, how did I get to that spot?
Yeah.
Wow, contempt. Okay, so when I was walking down that street and I was loaded and I was in that mess, it's because I have contempt. I have contempt for myself and everybody else, and how do you heal contempt?
Right.
You know, here's a good opportunity. I ain't taking it, you know. Like, you know, half doing anything, contempt, not changing when you know you need to change, more contempt, and you know, to the point, my ultimate contempt was I didn't care if I died. Like, I don't care, you know, like you can't do scare tactics with me because I don't care, and it was based on that contempt, and when I was in those meetings in the first well, people weren't in that contempt. They really cared about each other, and they were making the best of a difficult situation, and they were putting in an effort, and I just sort of hid my feelings and my contempt, but at the same time, it was like, you know, I'm not stupid. I could see a good opportunity, and just day by day, I felt better, and day by day, I eat and sleep and being with. It was a positive conversation. I was learning something new and going to meetings and everything from the, you know, the before, the during, and the after. Like, you know, going to the meeting, going out after, the social aspect. I was happy, and I hadn't been happy in a long time. And before, when I stopped using, I was miserable and crazy. And so here I was not using, and I was like feeling better just day by day by day. Did I want to still get loaded? Yeah, I did. I thought about it a lot. And I learned to talk about it, and slowly but surely the obsession to use went away. The desire, it was like I had more desire to be clean. I got involved, right? And when I didn't get involved, that desire didn't go away. You know, it's like I'm fooling everybody. Like when I first get a job, I don't use. I'm on my best behavior and I work hard, and then I use a little, you know, on the way there or on the way home. Then I use a little at work, you know, and I get away with it, and then I use more, and then I get to the point, like as it progresses, if I go to work, if I run out of dope, I go home. I can't even be there anymore. So it's like that's the progression that happens in my life. You know, with my kids, at first, same thing. I'm on my best behavior. I'm trying to be a dad. I'm learning, you know. And I tell people, like, never mind to have kids. I shouldn't even have a pet. You know, like I need to grow up, right? And slowly but surely, a little bit more. And next thing you know, I'm wired around my kids all the time. I use non-stop, right? And my wife is just like she can't stand it.
So why do you think that is? What I mean, you know, a lot of people make that statement. I'm gonna, you know, when they have children, when they hold their kids for the first time, I'm gonna change my life. Like I'm gonna be the best for you, you know. And
Yeah.
like, why is something so strong? Like, is addiction more powerful than that? Do you think?
Oh yeah.
More
Yeah,
powerful.
good. I had those good intentions, and I
Yeah.
tried, except I had excuses and reasons and enablers and friends who were still using. It's like, you're not that bad. Other people would tell me I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
You know, like, so my insanity was supported all the way down that, you know, that rabbit hole. Oh, you just had a kid, let's go celebrate. I celebrate so hard when I go back,
Right.
I'm drunk, they kick me out of the hospital. You know, yeah. You know, but that insanity becomes normal. You know, being wired becomes normal. Being sick becomes normal. Being afraid or I got anxiety. You know, like I use so much, I'm creating that insanity and that fear and that anxiety, and it becomes normal. You just start thinking, well, it's just the way I am.
And I think that, I mean, amazing moments where you feel amazing. You know, the desire to stay clean. I don't, like, it doesn't last, right? Like, it's something else comes along and gets in the way and changes that feeling. So there's an effort there, okay, to have, you know, to recreate those feelings or to be a part of the, you know, somebody else feeling that way. Yet, sometimes feelings like fear and anxiety seem like they're always there. Moments of, like, they last longer as well, right? And so
Well, and you don't know that if you just stay the course and practice recovery, that in a few months, you won't feel that way. You'll be different, you know, and see, I had an identity in addiction, you know, like that's who I am, and that chaos is part of that identity. And then I start developing a little bit of an identity in recovery, be a guy in recovery. Well, what's that look like, right? You know, and it's feeling better and getting along with people. Smile once in a while, you know, tell your face you're not all screwed up, you know, like stop looking at people like you want to kill them, right? Make some friends, you know, the whole coffee and the conversation. It didn't take much to be happy. You know, we go out for lunch and I was like, I'm like, this is the best food I've ever eaten.
yeah,
You know, it's just because you're just feeling better.
yeah, in that moment of connection and
Yeah, a cheeseburger becomes a spiritual awakening. You know what I mean? People talk about spiritual
I've had a few of
awakenings
those.
like they're massive. You know, the clouds parted, the sun shone. Nah, that for me it was a cheeseburger and some laughers and some friends. That
The
was a
simple
spiritual
things in
awakening.
life.
Yeah,
Is trying to
absolutely.
enjoy the simple things in life, because I screwed up the simple things in life.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, you know, trying to make sure the simple things in life matter and so forth. Cause, you know, I was having dinner with a bunch of friends on Monday right before my cake, and like it was just the funnest dinner, and it was just a Monday at 6 o'clock. Like there was no special thing, just we were having dinner and just, you know, talking all silly and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things that, you know, I remember your whole saying, don't complicate a cheeseburger, and it's like wow, that's so like deep. Like don't, it's just a cheeseburger, and for people that use or in addiction, like it really makes sense. It's like complicate everything, you know, and so forth. Now you, David, you're the founder of Last Hour Recovery Society. You know, David Pavlus is on the show today. You're listening to, if you just tune in, to Talk Recovery Radio on Vancouver Co-op Radio, 100.5 FM. It's not your first time here. We appreciate you coming back on your clean day to share hope. You know, 36 years helping people. You know, they talk about vicarious trauma. They talk about compassion fatigue, and they talk about, you know, all. You know, what is some advice you have for people to get through this crisis without falling to pieces? I mean, you've been around successes and sad stories and all that for 36 years. You know, what's your secret? What gets you through those days?
Wow, that's a complicated
I
question.
know,
love
it's
how
a
you do
big
that, eh?
question.
You know,
We had a whole
It's a good one.
conference about it. We had a whole conference about it.
it's a good one.
How do you take care of yourself?
That's
You
right.
know, enjoy recovery, enjoy the people you're working with, and you know, like any job, there's the positive and negative, and there's the things you let influence you, and you know, like how do you deal with the feelings? You know, so I mean, everybody does it different. You know, how do you survive? Wow. If I was working down here, I don't know, I wouldn't do it. I'd do something else. You know, I think we're kind of spoiled. We have a lot of laughers. What's my stress level? Not much. You know, watching people get their families first visit with their kids. You know, forgiving, practicing principles, participating and being a part of a pretty incredible community. You know, gratitude. You know. I don't really feel a lot of compassion fatigue based on that. Yeah, the downside, some people really take some hits and suffer, and some a lot of friends have died, and you know, it's like this old Mexican story. I think I read it in Chicken Soup for the Soul. The guy's walking down the beach, and there's all the starfish out in the sun, the tide's in and out, and they're dying, and he's just walking along, grabbing them and firing them in the water, and another one. Guy walks along, goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, they're gonna die if they're in the sun." And the guy said, "Well, you can't save them all." And he looks at him, he goes, "Yeah, but I can save this one." And he fires it in the water. I'm like, wow, that was deep. You know, more cheeseburger type theory, right? And you know, I don't pay attention that much to the bigger picture. I'm not capable. It's just too crazy. I pay attention to the guy sitting in front of me and the conversation that I'm having, and I go to the cakes and I talk to the families, and I have hope, and I do my own recovery. So lead by example. So for a guy who works doing this, I'm active in my own recovery. It's not just some little sideline thing that I do, right? And, you know, and I tell anybody that's gonna work in this, if you don't take care of your own recovery, I guarantee this will get you loaded. Like, it'll ruin you. Then, yeah, you will get compassion fatigue and stuff like that, right? You know, so being active in recovery and defining recovery, you know, if recovery's just not using, I guess that's all you're gonna get. But if it's being in love, having good friends, I wanna be a good dad, I wanna be a good grandpa now, that's my new gig, hey, I'm grandpa, I love that stuff, right? You know, so, and active in life, right? And yeah, I got my struggles and problems just like anybody else, but I'm active in that recovery process, right? And I noticed at some point that people in addiction had a massive voice and a massive presence. It's hard not to notice, and it's really sad, you know, that we see our friends, you know, really suffering. But it seemed to me recovery didn't have a voice. That people get recovery and then they're not just anonymous, they're invisible. You wouldn't even know they were ever there. I was on a job site working with these guys one time for probably a year. 3 of them were in the fellowship. I never know because they never talked about it. You know, like that. And I thought, well, I appreciate anonymity. I get it. It protects me from my ego and from me and in the world. But invisibility, so I decided I'm gonna have an opinion about this. I'm gonna talk about recovery, right? And then someone's listening, and it's like when you want to make a change and somebody's talking about something and you hear that message, and you go, hey, maybe I could do that. So when I bumped into Louise when she was in treatment, I'm like, maybe I could do that. Like, she's looking good, feeling good. You know, it's just like I caught the energy. When I went to the meeting, I caught the energy. You know, I got affected. I let it affect me. So I defeated my contempt by letting recovery and positivity and spirituality and all that stuff and the cheeseburger affect me, right? And I wasn't contemptuous, you know, and I guess, you know, when Darren asked, you know, after 12 years, how do you end up in jeopardy? 12 years clean, I'm like, I'm done with this. You know, like, I'm tired of it. Remember, my wife was going to a meeting, she goes, oh, are you coming? I go, I ain't going. So off she goes. I watch 10 channels at once because I can't watch TV, I'm a little OCD, and you know, an hour or so later, they all come back to my house, and they sort of burst into the house, and tons of energy, and it went from this dead energy, just me, and all of this energy, and I said to her, oh, how was the meeting? She goes, well, if you wanted to know, you should have went, and they all went in the other room, and it's, oh, that stung, right? You know, because the healing was being a part of the connection, you know, the fellowship, the community, the conversations, how we build each other up just with a little kindness and compassion. And, you know, I recommitted. I did 90 and 90. I connected with new people. I got some new sponsees. And it didn't take 90 days. It was like a week later, I was feeling great. I don't even know what was wrong, but that contempt was coming back. See, for me, I have to be careful because it's a natural for me, right? Those negative positions. And so I wanted a positive position.
And that's pretty typical though,
Yeah.
okay? Like, do you know what that is? Like, why, when we know what works, when we know what feels good, when we know, you know, how to get ourselves up, like how we respond in that way to build that contempt, like what is it? Do you know?
Well, it isn't stupid.
Right.
Yeah, it's like contempt is hard to figure out because it's insane. It's like, here's a great opportunity. No, I'm busy. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I don't remember being too tired to go get loaded. No, dude, you got dope? No, I'm tired. You know.
Like in the sickest shape of life.
Yeah.
Like
a bunch of junkies are sitting
weakest, sickest
around.
shape.
Nobody's got any dope. Everybody's dying. They're just shaking and sick. And somebody makes a call and makes a connection, and it's just like, bang. It's on the way. The dope ain't even there. They're up high-fiving. We're friends again. It's all good, you know, like
through snow, sleet, hail,
yeah,
or rain.
because I believe in what I'm doing.
I remember walking down all of Hastings in the rain just to score. And I was like, I would walk all the way down Hastings now, even if it was just to go somewhere. It's like, now I'll drive.
Well, and that's powerlessness.
Yeah.
And I know a message of Dave that sunk in with me is this idea of in recovery is you're not so much you're powerless anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're not in that powerless state to go through whatever it takes just to go to a meeting. You know what I mean? So it's like spiritual effort, conditioning yourself,
Yeah.
you know, fighting through that resistance that.
So if you wanna stay clean, you know, here's a secret, I'll give you the secret, ready?
The
Here it is,
secret.
ladies.
Here's the secret.
Secret.
You gotta get good at it, right? And so that was the process, you know, like defeating the contempt, the insanity, the patterns, the habits, the past, not living in the chaos that got me here. And moving forward was to get good at recovery, to practice. So I'm practicing, I'm getting good at it, right?
And it's safe to say, like, you can't figure that part out, like why, the whys and the how comes and all that. Sometimes it's just, I don't know why. I don't know why I would, just be lazy for life, but when it came to drugs, I would do anything to get, I don't know, I still don't know why.
Yeah.
And you know what, like you say, you just get inspired to do well and get inspired to help people and get inspired to do recovery and go to meetings and enjoy other people's cakes, not just your own, and all that other stuff just goes away, and I feel comfortable just knowing that I really don't know why.
But I also want to keep admitting that I have the capacity for that type of intolerance and that type of, resistance, and
I think
that
the
I can just give me a couple of days.
Well, you have to change, right? So when I knew you for a long time, and it was so bad, I wouldn't let him walk my dog, because he would sell it and go get high.
Or try to smoke
Right?
dope out of him.
Yeah, turn him into
I
a
could
bomb,
make
right?
one light.
A bulldog bomb. So,
Exactly.
but here we are a little while later, and I give Darren a job, and we work together, and he becomes involved in that, helping the next person. So that's one aspect. The other one is for somebody where it isn't a job, they get involved in recovery and helping that next person. And that heals that self-centeredness. So the self-centeredness is the stimulant for that contempt.
To be
Right?
a part of someone
Stimulus
else's
for that
positive
contempt.
Yeah.
I like
change,
that.
like
Yeah.
to finally have a positive effect on somebody else's life, because addiction only creates you to have a negative impact.
Yeah, what heals you and gets your heart beating? You help somebody and they say, hey, thank you, and you see them get better. For some reason, as they get better, it makes you better, it makes you stronger, more conviction. I believe in it, and in like neural programming and epigenetics, you gotta get your mind into it, you gotta get into it, you gotta get your head in the game, like that. When I'm going to meetings and I'm active in recovery and I'm reading the literature and I'm doing all that stuff, my eye's on the ball, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm not disconnected. And so you walk in a room and it's like, hey, Darren, good to see you. Boom, that's bringing you back to life. Hey, we're going to
It's
go
healing.
do something. You want to come? Boom, that heals you. All of a sudden you get some respect, you get some dignity, you get to be a part of. And then, people think of you, because when I met you, I just, junkie, that's it, right?
Well, your dad just dropped you off and said,
Yeah.
"Done."
I mean,
What does he do?
you wouldn't like you.
Yeah,
You know?
I want to switch gears a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Usually we take a break in the middle of the show, but we want to get as much info out of you as possible. And Last Story just had its AGM, annual general meeting. The torch has been passed. We have a new executive director at Last Story. His name's Jared. So a shout out to Jared if he's watching. Jared. And there's reasons for that. Dave, you've been off work for a little while, and you got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And asked if it was okay to talk about it. You said yes. I think it's really important that we talk about it, because there's so many people in recovery and not in recovery that it's like, my life is over. And that's one of their reservations. I'll stay clean, but if this happens, I'm getting loaded, and all that kind of stuff. And lots of the entire community was shaken a bit, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about yours, because you're still here, and you're still here, and I want you to just share a little bit how you are able to get 36 years clean. All this, triumph with Last Door and some sadness, and then the end of it is not the end of it, but here you are, it's like stage 4 cancer.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah, I know, it's like you're on death row for a second, so while you're waiting for the results, you've already played that all out in your head and what you know about it. And it's funny, to get clean, I learned how to live just for the day. I learned to have faith in the people around me. I learned to change what I believed in. Like, I got involved. Like, I got good at it. And when I got told, oh yeah, you got stage 4 cancer. It's untreatable. And at first, man, that's a big hit. It's like, this ain't the TV show version of this. And I walked out of the out of the interview, the appointment, or whatever you call it, and I'm sitting out on this bench, and I was thinking, I don't want to put my family through cancer, you know, and I thought, I'm just going to end it, you know, like, this seems real dire, and it took a week to shake that off. Like, I'm on death row, I have all those feelings, the fear was unbelievable, you know, and fear and pain and anxiety, and so I go for another appointment, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I got some more news for you, and he goes, really kind of bad, and I'm like, well, let's just do it. And so I got prostate cancer, I got lung cancer, I got throat cancer, then I got lymph cancer, and I remember I said to him, I go, that's it? That's all you got? And I bust out laughing. I'm just like, you know, I mean, if you're already screwed, what's the difference, right? And you think about what I went through in addiction, what I went through with my kids in addiction. It's just like, you know, I got a hide on me. I can take it, right? And I started doing some research, and I started doing my basics, and I reached out to my friends. It was really hard to talk about for a little bit, and I have a lot of love in my life. You know, I have people who love me, and you know, and I watched how it affected them. And a week into it, I surrendered. You know, it was the same surrender when I got clean. It's like, okay, I get the problem. What are you gonna do about it? And it was like, I went online. I got a book on remission. I started listening to stories of people where the cancer went into remission and what they did and what they changed. Just like we do speaker tapes in our program. So you listen and people talk about where they come from, where they're at now, and what they're doing. And it was the same thing when it came to cancer. A lot of people share about it. They're not invisible. You know what I mean? They have a voice. And I started listening to exactly what they were doing, and I tell you, a day later, then rather than being afraid, I felt inspired. I knew I could make the changes necessary. It's kind of a blessing when they said your cancer's untreatable, we can't cut chunks off or fry you with radiation and chemo, you're too sick. I'm like, okay. So, you know, at first that seemed like the death sentence, and after a while I was glad because I was uneducated. I would have agreed to anything they said. I didn't know what I had to do. And I listened to other people that said, you know what, you change your life. And when it came to getting clean, I got to that point where I wouldn't change a single thing and I couldn't stay clean. I changed my life. And 36 years I've been clean. And when it came to cancer, I made the decision I'm going to change my life, you know, and I started listening to people that had made those changes, you know, what worked. And I tried all kinds, like shotgun theory. I tried everything I could think of, and you know, slowly narrowed it down to stuff that suited me. And I do 60-degree saunas, a couple hours a day every day, and I do ice baths and ice showers. I can meditate in 4-degree water for like 10-15 minutes. I don't even get cold, you know. I practiced, built up to it. I'm a vegan now, you know, and I went online and I got more and more and more information from people that had made those changes, and I just started, instead of getting sicker, I started feeling better and better and better and better. So then I went back to the doctors, and he's like, oh yeah, you're getting better. Okay, we can start doing radiation on you now. I'm like, no chance you're doing that. It took all of this to get an immune system again, and you're gonna tell me you wanna finish me off? It's just like, no. So I fired him, and I fired the next guy. And I got a doctor that agrees with me in the sense of, you know, your head in the game, believing in what you're doing, making the change. So it's like diet, exercise, everything I eat, everything I do, no stress. That was my last day of work when I found out. Not that I wanted to quit, I love working. But it's like I had to learn how to get the stress out of my life, all stress, have no stress, right? And it took some practice, learning how to relax, you know, like I go, I learn how to relax and meditate. I meditate like, you know, a couple hours a day, 7 days a week. And what I do, I don't just do once in a while, I do it every day. And then I got better at talking about it, which helped. Same with the addiction and recovery. I was talking about recovery, which got easier. I didn't endlessly, like, I'm going to tell you my story. I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to move ahead, you know, and so when it came to cancer, it was the same thing. You know, I wanted to move into remission. And me and my doctor, Don Hedges, cool guy, was like, okay, from this conversation forward, you're in remission. And I'm like, okay, I like this guy. He's supporting what I'm doing. And he's been an absolute support for a couple of years. You know, and I tell you, when they tell you got stage 4 and you got no time left, go get your house in order, and it's 2 years later, I'm still here, doing what I'm doing, and I'm not saying that out of arrogance, I'm saying that out of gratitude, and how much love I have in my life, and my family, and my friends, and my community, and, you know, all of that, right? You know, what heals you? You know, what makes it to where you can talk about what's going on, right? So it's part of my recovery now, part of, you know, this, doing it the same way, making that change, having a new story, being a different guy, right? I'm not afraid at all, right? And I have people that I talk to about it who were asking for help, and it's like we talk a little bit, it's just like, yeah, you know, if you stay in that fear will kill you. Your body's not gonna heal, right? You know, so I've been pretty busy for the last while. Full-time job, right?
I mean, just,
Darren, you tried the cold water, what did you think?
yeah, I don't know,
Oh, who's the guy? Wim Hof. I
Wim
I
Hof.
listened to Wim Hof online and started to listen to him like he's a madman. I love it. So I started doing the Wim Hof. I bought the course, did the breathing, did the ice showers, did the meditation. Swear to God, I never felt better in my whole life. I don't have I'm not living in anxiety or depression or fear. They're doing studies on how it changes your body and your brain chemistry. Like absolutely amazing stuff, right?
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you talk about the essence of recovery, it's the same. It's like, it's just amazing that.
I talked about doing the ice showers, just nothing. I swear to God, I told Gaylor that. He went home, and it's winter. He went home, he jumped in the river.
3 hours of watching Wim Hof and thinking like there it is.
There
like,
it is.
Like what one man can do, another can do.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I when you started, I was like, oh, I'll take a cold shower. It just, I'm not. It was a couple seconds. That was about it. Turned the hot water on pretty quickly, and then I know Nick tried it as well. And you're like, you know, you gotta slow down and you gotta practice and just do a little bit at a time. And I just need a little bit more discipline in my life. But I just want to also talk about the idea, like when the news came out and it kind of like rippled through the community and stuff. I go to a lot of meetings and you hear people, you know, when they share and you know, everybody deals with issues differently, but you just hear like the pain of it, right? And I just remember in the very beginning, like from day one, it's like positive affirmations, and they call it positive psychology, and just, you know, talk positive about what's going on in my life, and that's just so powerful even for everyone around you, because it's like I feel okay, you know, and it's just one of those things where it's just, you know, trying to instill that even in my life and just in my own home life and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in one day sometimes, and how can I put a positive spin on this so I can have some gratitude that I can experience what's going through. So I just want to say thank you for that, you know, so I appreciate it. You know, Glass Door Recovery Society, you know, you're still part of the family and stuff. You show up every once in a while and all that kind of stuff.
I'm the gardener.
You're the gardener. It's funny, you know, new guys are like, who is this guy? You know, it's just like, oh, he's the gardener, just leave him alone. And all that. So, you know, we got a few minutes left, like 5 minutes. You know, I was gifted to go across Canada in September from, you know, Vancouver, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, all the way to Halifax. Never been to Halifax before, Nova Scotia. And people know who we are. And not me individually, but just know this idea, Last Door, and all that. And you know, you should be proud of that and so forth. And you know, it's just one of those opportunities where not everybody in life gets to have a legacy, you know, and that is dreams and goals for Last Door in the future. Like, what's, you know, are we getting bigger? Do you think we're just where we're at? What's the future for Last Door?
I have no idea.
You know?
I remember when we bought a ranch and we started doing family programs, and they were asking me, well, what are you gonna do with this? And I was like, I don't know. We're gonna have a campfire and we're gonna have speaker meetings and let's see what happens. And you know, like say with Last Door, it's the same thing. I don't know, like let's just do a good program, put a decent dinner on the table, take care of the new guy, keep it positive, you know, each guy will affect somebody else, you know, no matter what happens outside in any of that chaos, let's just do a good job with this. And for the guys that work for me, you know it, Darren, it's just like, hey, let's enjoy this job. Let's enjoy the guys we work with. Let's, you know, take care of your business and what's the culture, and we're still at the, you know, cheeseburgers are important, right? Whatever. I guess now I'm a vegan. It's a meatless burger. They're pretty good too.
Plant-based.
Yeah, I try anything, you know. So just that optimism, you know, like it doesn't have to become too big and too complicated. You know, the simplicity of the whole thing, right? The problem is very complicated. Some
That's
people
right.
ask me, well, what would you do about this problem or that problem or the chaos on Hastings Street? I'm just like, you know, like one at a time, let's help somebody pick a new path, get off out of the chaos, get clean. You know, oh, let's give somebody a safe supply. I had a safe supply. I OD'd multiple times. I had a safe supply of alcohol, a safe supply of drugs. I need to be clean. I need to stop living in addiction, living in insanity. I needed something to move me forward back to that restoration, right? And somebody to be the teacher.
And I mean, whatever the modalities have changed over the years, and the amount of staff at Glassdoor, and you know, different styles of therapies that have come about, and the growth of it all, and how many clients have been there, it's all changed. I mean, I've experienced it myself at the lowest point in my life, and you know, the full circle of what the Glassdoor has done, and what I would hope for the future, no matter how many changes occur, is that it always will provide and have available to any individual the right to their dignity. And that is underneath everything, what has always been there, you know, from what I've seen
Yeah,
in the past.
one of those shows is talking about meet you where you're at and dignity. So, I mean, I drink a lot. I fall down, knock my teeth out, break my nose, and you know, like I literally almost just shit myself. And what, you're supposed to meet me where I'm at? You're supposed to respect what I'm doing? What I'm doing is completely insane.
Yeah, because where I'm at is I just need heroin.
Yeah, stop. Yeah.
So just bring
What
it
do you
back.
want? Heroin for Christmas?
That's it.
Yeah.
Just heroin.
Yeah. If that worked, you'd be happy. It doesn't work. So let's give you something better. You know, some common sense, some dignity, some integrity. I couldn't have dignity when I was wired. I just couldn't do it.
On the topic of dignity, there's a new, it's called David Talks, and it's called Last Door Productions. You know, we've got a movie coming out in the future, it's called Crisis, it's coming out very soon, but we were able to do kind of like a TED Talk series with David. He's got 9 topics. We've already finished a few of the first ones. One comes out next week, and it's actually on stigma. And David has a great conversation about stigma. So tune in to Last Door's Facebook page, and David Talks are coming out and so forth, and we'll be able to enjoy those talks. But you put a twist on stigma that I go to a lot of conferences, like 20 a year for the last 7-8 years, and I've heard a lot of talk about stigma, and it's almost completely like for people that are in recovery from addiction, it's like, oh my god, like that's so not true. I remember saying, you know, I saw this PowerPoint presentation, construction, this union out there, and it's like stigma is killing construction workers. Then she just went to the next slide, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. No, the fact that you don't fund people to go to treatment is what's killing people and giving them time off. So, you know, stay tuned to that. David Talks is going to be online. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. Thanks for being on the show, David. Any final words? Like,
Well, if you think about the simplicity of being clean, it's easier to get clean than you realize, and we help people with that. You know, say with the cancer thing, if somebody said, you know, just quit eating this one thing and your cancer will go away. Like when I go to the cancer clinic, there can be positive energy there, and there's unity, and people connect and we talk. Nobody's out front having a smoke, you know what I mean? They're not out there with the pole on the IV blowing a lung dart. It's just, you know, for some reason you find you're willing to do anything to survive. That's a lot of what I've met with people. And then when it comes to addiction, it's like, what are you willing to do? And for a lot of people, not much. Do it for me. You know, you realize all these excuses I have, where, you know, if you get to that moment where what are you willing to do? You're willing to take action and make change. It's pretty easy to get clean. And so I just looked at the cancer the same way, and I'm not telling anybody else what to do. You know, like, do what works for you. And and I've found stuff that's working for me, so I 100% it, you know, and I have an opinion about it. And when I listen to other people sharing, you know, like when I listen to Wim Hof talk about breathing, meditation, the ice, you know, get in 4-degree water, it'll light you up. I tell you what, I'm listening to him, I'm believing what he said, and I'm willing to give it a try, and I tell you, it's changing my life.
All right, this is a call out to all our viewers on Facebook and all our listeners on 100.5 FM. We're all going to take cold showers for the next month, and you're going to report to us. Let us know how you feel, Darren. Are you in? Are you in? Let's do it, Darren.
Sure.
I'll do it. I'll do it. All right, David.
I just love the fact that,
Thanks for being on the show, David. Catch us again, and we're here every Thursday.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks for not staying invisible, not being invisible, and we've had, I think, a record views on this show when you and Lou were in here last, and I mean, it's a testament, right, that for someone to come out and share some of the struggles that they're going with, everything that they've been through, and yeah, I'm sure, as you know, but for anybody paying attention, the inspiration and the message and what you are actually capable of doing yourself is in there, and just seek that inspiration and seek those people that can motivate that inside.
Well, and it's not always the very bottom too. Like I talked to a guy, telling the guys last night. I talked to a guy the other day, and we have motorcycle problems. So we're talking a bit about that, and he's like, yeah. He says, I got to tell you something. I'm like, what? And he goes, you know what? I got a bike. I don't ride. And he says, I got a job that I do anymore. And he says, I have a wife, but I don't feel love anymore. And I'm loaded all the time. And, so I talked to him about stopping and what that would look like. And it would look like, why lose everything before you get motivated? Like right where he is right now, in a month from now, he could be in love with his wife again. It wouldn't take much. And he could do his job, and me and him could go riding, and he wouldn't be in that insanity. And he's in the fear, so he's not making the decision. So hopefully I get to be the guy to help him make that decision, just by influence. I'm not going to convince him of anything, just by influence, how I live. And we're probably going to be out on a ride in the next few days, and we're going to have that conversation. And, somebody took that time for me and saved my life, same as Darren, same with you, right? So, thanks.
Thanks, David B., everybody, and this is Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, Talk Recovery. We're out with Xavier Rudd's Storm Boy.
Yes.
You good, Val?
It was awesome.
I don't hear
All right.
anything.
Floating.